Gita 9.30 Api chet sudracharu Vajate mamananyabhak Sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha. This is one of the most intriguing and revealing verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Herein, Krishna is stating, Api chet sudracharo, that even if one engages in a terrible activity, achar is behavior, durachar is misbehavior, sudurachar is extremely bad behavior. The sudur prefix has been used earlier. Sudurlabha. It's a Mahatma Sudurlabha. It was used in 7.19. So here it is stated that Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak. And even if somebody acts in a most abominable way, but if that person is determined but continues on being devoted to Krishna, bhajate mam ananyabhak, without deviation, sadhureva samantavyaha. Such a person is to be considered a sadhu, mantavyaha. Samyak vyavasito hi saha. Because for that person, the determination is well situated. So what exactly does this verse imply? Is it sanctioning the idea that anybody can do any sin and still no one is responsible, that one person is not responsible, not culpable? No. Point of this verse, one is not that it is the point is to stress Krishna's compassion. So here Krishna is speaking that a devotee should be considered always to be respected. So if we look at the overall context of the discussion, the point is that we are not abandoned by Krishna just because we are unable to follow certain moral standards. Not only does Krishna remain by us inside as the super soul always, no matter what misdeed we do, but also Krishna stands by us. He is declaring that this devotee should be considered saintly. No. Often the mettle of a relationship is tested when one of the partners acts in a improper way. So when there is reason to quit or break the relationship, to disown the person, and even at that time, instead of disowning that person, one sticks faithfully by that person's side, not blaming that person but enabling, but being by that person's side to help that person. That is indeed a very strong expression of affection. So Krishna is expressing that kind of affection here when he's stating that no matter what happens, he is by our side, as is evident in his declaration that the devotee should be considered saintly. So, this is a vivid example of the extraordinary nature of Krishna's love, of how, despite any and every situation, he is ready to be by our side to help us overcome that problematic situation. So, rather than standing in moral judgment and everlasting condemnation, Krishna is a God who stands by our side in moral support and compassionate assistance. So, the verse at the same time seems to be self contradictory. If one has committed a sinful activity, a grievous sinful activity, in fact, bhajate mam ananya bhak, and how can that person be considered to be still undeviated in one's devotion? So, isn't that grievous action itself a deviation in one's devotion? Here, Sridhar Swami explains in his Gita commentary that the deviation is that, yes, that moral lapse is a deviation, but what Krishna is referring to, Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak, is that the devotee doesn't give up worshipping Krishna, doesn't turn to some other master thinking that, oh, maybe for my moral redemption I need to go to some other master. Even when there is a reversal, even when caused by one's own misdeed, at that time the devotee doesn't lose faith in Krishna. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. The devotee continues serving Krishna with determination, and by so doing, recognizing that I have nowhere else to go to, that even if I commit sinful activities, what can I do? Where else can I go? Bhumau skalitapadanam bhumevalambanam tvai jata aparadhanam tvameva sharanam vibho. Just as while walking on the ground, sometimes one may slip and fall. Now, after one falls on the ground, what does one do? One has to rise once again on that same ground and start walking again. Rise by taking support of the same ground. So, like that, even when we fall down while trying to serve the Lord, even when we commit offenses to the holy name of the Lord, still the only way to get elevated is by taking shelter of that same holy name. So, when one doesn't see Krishna as an optional object of worship, yeah, okay, I like Krishna Bhakti, so I did it. Now I don't like it. Now maybe I like to worship some other person. One doesn't think of Krishna like that as an optional object of worship, but rather one recognizes Krishna to be the ground, the unavoidable, indispensable ground of all being. That without Krishna, we ourselves have no existence at all. Neither can we exist, nor can our existence be continued. So when one understands that, what can I do apart from turn towards Krishna once again and seek his help? So, understanding Krishna to be a necessary sustainer of our existence, an indispensable basis of our being, a devotee understands that there is no one other than Krishna to turn to, even if by my own misdeeds I have turned away from Krishna. So that Ananya Bhak is in terms of the no deviation in the object of worship. Sadhureva samantavyaha, and that determination to keep serving Krishna, to not go to any other object of worship, that is what Krishna appreciates. And he says, yes, such a person is considered sadhu. Samyak vyavasito hi saha. And the determination is well situated. So, we can see our moral lapses as recurrences of a grievous disease. And when the disease relapses, at that time, one shouldn't lose faith in the treatment but take the treatment more vigorously. And here, Krishna appreciates that the devotee is not giving up the treatment. And as will be mentioned in the next verse, that the very continuation of the treatment will eventually lead to purification, will eventually lead to coming to a righteous position, will eventually lead to moral elevation beyond such lapses. This verse stresses the point that Krishna never abandons the devotee who never abandons him. Even if that devotee is unable to follow the principles of bhakti briefly, that devotee continues to serve Krishna, and Krishna continues to be by that devotee's side. Thank you.